government secret pantaloons. Pew, 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 pew. Ladies and gentlemen,
Number whatever.
number vague. It is a vague number, ladies and gentlemen. It's make your own number.
This might be number 10, which we should celebrate that.
It is number 10. I think it is number 10.
All right. Get out the streamers.
Yes. So give yourself a bad haircut. Put on some pantaloons. It's Government Secrets number 10.
And I think we have a good one to start off on, which is that basically Donald Trump announced that he is doing the opposite of everything we do on this show. He announced the 1776 Commission to alter American history and make sure people are getting the false patriotic version.
It's it's always like with him, it sort of shocks me, but then it doesn't. Like anytime there's can you believe what he did? It's kind of like, yeah, I guess so. He just wants to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, apparently he actually mentioned Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States as exactly what's wrong with America.
The truth.
The truth, the reality. If you're learning reality, then you have a serious problem. It's a mental defect of some form. To quote from this article, the 1776 Commission is a patriotic education commission proposed by Trump. While speaking in the National Archives, Trump made the announcement of proposing the new commission and said, quote, "I will soon sign an executive order establishing a national commission to promote patriotic education. It will encourage our educators to teach our children about the miracle of American history and make plans to honor the 250th anniversary of our founding."
That's the kind of thing, if you heard that the North Korean or Chinese government did it, you go, yep, that's what they do. They just rewrite the history books. That's what crazy authoritarian governments do. But his followers go, yeah, it's time for the real truth that doesn't have truth in it.
Well, yeah, this is a direct response, and actually he says as much. This is a direct response to the fact that America is now going through the kind of writhing and feverish response to acknowledging our actual history, to actually coming face to face and discussing systemic racism and slavery and just the white supremacy of our policing system and what our founding fathers were involved in, which does not delegitimize everything they did, but we need to talk about the reality of their history and the fact that many of them had slaves and many of them raped their slaves and those kind of things. And this is a direct response, basically saying, I'm signing something that says schools have to teach the false version.
It really is older white people, not all, but there's a section of older white people that just don't want to hear it, no matter what it is. And it's not necessarily just, oh, the Trumpers are crazy. I mean, it's I don't know what happens to the brain or what. I just remember my grandmother, Irish, didn't want to hear anything about the Catholic Church. You just couldn't say anything bad about that. And I was like, but Grandma, I remember I was a kid in the 80s and they kept finding these priests, it was starting to come forward again, in Chicago and the Archdiocese of Chicago. I was like, they caught this priest and that priest. Nope. That guy's just bad, or that kid was wrong, or she just didn't, there's just this nope. And I think that's America's problem because we've been fed so much. We're so great. We're so awesome. And everything we've done was amazing that it would be if you found out some relative of yours that you really loved and revered was a serial killer or a pedophile or something. And there'd be a part of you that would just go, nope. Too difficult. No, they didn't. Nope. But it's
it's
they have a necklace of ears. They've been eating. We all travel and buy stuff. It's okay.
I've got the guy's head right here that they severed. No, I can't see that. What do you? I don't see.
He buried it under your bed with a note saying, "I killed this guy." It's a Halloween prank. Nope, don't want to hear it. It's just so.
I think we're gonna change the national anthem to. And I think that's the next step.
And I know you are, but what am I? Like, just.
But what's so hilarious about this is the history that we're already getting, that like I got in school, but even now that I've been out of high school for 20 some odd years, kids are still getting a kind of more mildly whitewashed version of American history. Like there is, there's discussion of slavery and stuff like that. So that's changed, but there's still a relatively whitewashed version of American history. They may talk a little bit about how Columbus behaved, but they still speak of him as if he should be someone that's discussed, when in fact, he was discovering a place where everyone lived. So it's like, he should only be discussed really as a genocidal maniac. There's not there's not a reason he should be discussed as like a explorer. But so Trump is doing this despite the fact that there actually has not been enough pushback against this kind of false history that we're told.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy because, I mean, if you think about, again, the Columbus is such, and I get the tearing down Columbus statues just flipped out that older people just couldn't take it, because he wasn't perfect, but like we still celebrate Thanksgiving. I mean, like,
could you imagine if it's like, while the guy was in the middle of this, he's like raping someone, he's cutting someone else's nose off, he's collecting gold from someone else, and he's in the middle of it, and they're like, well, he's not perfect, but Chris, come over here and talk to. I know Chris is not perfect, but come here.
Look, I just want you to meet him. He's an okay guy.
He's all right guy. Yeah.
Look, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, like, they did a little weird stuff in the countryside, but they weren't like awful. You know what I mean? Like
it's all relative. It's it's cultural relativism. Like back then, that was cool. So.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Hey, I mean, Hitler got Germany out of the Depression. So I mean, everyone has a plus and a minus, you know what I mean? So this is like,
I'd be all for rewriting American history if we're gonna, like, because if Trump's basically signing something saying fucking rewrite American history, I say have fun with it. Like Columbus rode here on a pterodactyl, like that kind of shit. I'd be all in for. If we're gonna rewrite it, let's swing for the fences, right?
Let's go on some sort of LSD infused psychedelic, like Yellow Submarine style. Just picture yourself on a boat on a river.
Yeah. Abraham Lincoln was actually 2 feet tall, but his hat was 6 feet. Like that, just awesome shit.
His beard was made of unicorn tears or whatever. Just everything, give it mystical. Thomas Jefferson was a shapeshifter that was able to time travel through his own voice or whatever. Like, let's give them all. I'm up for all of it.
But it is true. People don't even want to face even a discussion about a lot of these things. I was just forwarded through my family, like my aunt or something forwarded, an email from someone trying to get UVA alum to start withholding their donations or withdrawing their donations to the university. And the reason is because, and I went there, by the way, the reason is because there's a girl who lives on the lawn, which the lawn is kind of the old traditional. It was designed by Jefferson. It's like if you see a famous photo of UVA, it's that little area. And I live there, and weirdly, she's in my room, so that's kind of strange. But she has put, and I don't know her race or anything. I just know it's a woman. But she has put a large sign outside her door, which this is a heavily trafficked area of UVA, that says something like, I'm paraphrasing, but something like "fuck UVA" for genocide, KKK cops, slavery, anti black and brown students. And it's just painted on her door in big letters, and people are flipping the fuck out because all these nice little white people that are not used to confronting these issues have to confront them. And this guy apparently drove there, I assume from Richmond, Virginia. So we're talking a 2-hour drive hour drive or whatever, he said he drove there specifically to scratch off the words "fuck UVA" because he is opposed to offensive language. And I guarantee you it doesn't really come down to offensive language, because if that sign said, fuck Duke, their basketball team is a bunch of pussies, then he would not be driving an hour to go scratch that off the door. So the real reason that this is upsetting these middle-class white people is that they have to confront the fucking racist history of Jefferson, but of all these things. And it's front and center. It's pushing in on their little nice worlds. And it's like, look, this girl, MLK said the riot is the voice of the unheard. This girl didn't create a riot. She didn't bomb anything. She didn't stab anyone. She put up a sign on her door, and it has infuriated people.
Anything that challenges, like if you've always believed in something, I think the human brain does this, and especially like the American brain, which is particularly stupid. But the like, something you've always believed in, something you've always liked or enjoyed, whatever, and you're confronted with contradictory information that tells you, actually, this was not true. This was a lie. There's some people, and I think this is true in America because we're such an individual, I can figure this out. I'm me. So then if you're bringing up information that says this thing that I like or believe in or have always enjoyed is actually rooted in racism and genocide and awfulness or whatever, then I'm going to take it personally. So that guy drove 2 hours because he thought that UVA, that's my school. I'm going to take this personally rather than use, critical thinking and deductive reasoning or whatever to go, wow, maybe UVA was built on some awful stuff. We should think about it. And you're right. It's all these middle-class white people. That's why the older, like, Black Lives Matter thing is so confronting. Well, all lives matter. No, they're not. Black Lives Matter is not saying their lives are more important than yours.
Right.
They're saying they just want to not be shot in the back. And
a great comedian, Ted Alexandro, a friend of mine, he had a joke about how, like, when they're like Black Lives Matter, and people are like all lives matter. That's like if there was like people living with AIDS, getting like a group of people that like, we have AIDS and we're trying to deal with it, and someone walks in and is like, I have cancer. It's like, oh, okay, but we're doing art. This is important to us. Right. You don't need to come yell your thing.
Yeah, someone's eulogizing their child, like, my child died in a car accident, and someone runs by and goes, well, my kid was hit by a car. Like, okay, that's
my kid confuses B's and C's when he's reading. All right. Well, yeah, but this kid's person, they're really
brutal. And this person is in pain. So maybe you could just not make it all about you. Like, we're a nation of just ridiculous narcissists. And it is so prevalent in middle-class America. But the older white people who've had these lifetimes of privilege and grew up with if you work hard enough, you'll succeed, which was true within that framework, was set up for them to succeed. Middle-class white people could do that, and so they can't handle any of this. They can't this is too, like, that means the American dream is bullshit. That means everything is a lie. And rather than go, America is a lie, they just can't confront that. And it's a hard thing to confront. It's really like saying your parents and your grandparents.
Right, because you're right, because it was true for them, for a lot of them, generally speaking, white people through the, 40s, 50s, 60s could work hard and succeed and take care of a family and have a house and a car on one job.
Yeah.
And it was really a kind of wonderful, idyllic time for America for those people. Because it was largely based on the fact that we were a kind of slightly younger capitalist society with a massive amount of resources in terms of industrialization. So it was a prime time where we could exploit all our resources, achieve great wealth, and that wealth was given to white people. And so for a certain group, it was true. Now it is no longer true. And, talk about government secrets. That's one of the biggest ones nowadays. You work hard, you'll achieve great things, and your life will be a cinch.
Well, yeah, it's true too, because also many that they're all in their, many of them, these older, they're in their retirement years, so they're living off of these nice pensions from these jobs and this old model of employees working hard and getting good pensions and having a wonderful retirement. So like they were told, work hard, get a good job, you'll succeed, get a nice pension, buy a house, it'll increase in value. And so the ones that haven't been screwed over by this economy or this toxic capitalism, maybe the ones that didn't lose their homes 10 years ago, who are like living in retirement, and they're like, I did it. I won. I did this. I did everything you told me to do, and it paid off, and I won. And stop telling me I'm wrong. Stop telling me this isn't fair. I don't care. I got this. I don't care. And there's that attitude. There's this like,
and the reason my kid is 30 years old and living in the basement is because of immigrants.
Yeah, immigrants, or they're lazy or whatever. And it's like, I always ask them, what did you pay for college? Your parents paid for college? And they say, yeah, I paid for my own college. Okay, well, how much was it a year? What was it? It was $1,000 a year. Okay, right. So you could,
or they're like, I didn't go to college and I was an engineer at a car plant. It's like, it's like, you didn't go to college and you were an engineer at a car plant. Like,
I started at 25 an hour, and then I moved up to manager, and I was making $60 an hour, and union benefits, and like they also don't understand like the golden years of America. Supposedly in the 40s and 50s and 60s, we had post World War II America. We had the highest number of union membership. Yep. We had the highest number of banking regulation and the highest tax code. We had the highest tax rate, and that's what was paying for all of this stuff. And now they're like, socialism. Like they just,
you seen that chart with it was like income versus union membership, and they just go exact opposites.
Yeah, and now they're just and they're also this very materialistic, as we are, and most Americans were raised to be so materialistic. They have this my home and my car and my stuff, and then they see the news reports of the rioting, and they're like, they're coming for my stuff, and they just like, I had this argument with an older, like someone in their 60s would consider themselves pretty liberal after the rioting and the looting happened in Santa Monica, where we both lived. They were like, we had this huge fight because they were like quoting Dr. Martin Luther King, and they're like, I don't know what these black lives, what are they kneeling for? And I'm like, what are they kneeling for? What are you talking about? She's like, they shouldn't riot here. They should sit down and talk. I was like, what? Like,
they've been talking for 400 years. It's not gotten a lot.
Nothing's happened, and they keep getting killed, and they keep getting less money, and keep getting all this stuff. And they were like, so if these rioters came to your house, would you just let them take it? And I'd go, yeah, I would. I wouldn't fight them. I wouldn't get a gun. I'd say, hey, if there was, I'd get, hey guys, you want some food?
But that even getting you off on that track is it's a fake argument. It's a way to sideline the actual discussion. If someone comes into your house and says, I'm stealing your stuff, then that sucks. But that is an anomaly. That is not what most of what's going on in these streets. I mean, yes, there are always people that will take advantage of riots or large protests as a chance to cause some havoc or a chance to steal something or whatever. But that is not the point of this thing, and that is not what we're talking 99.9% of protesters are doing. So, if someone were to walk in and be like, I get all your stuff, then that person's an asshole. But
I get all your stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like, especially the like you talked about MLK, the rioting and looting is the voice of the oppressed or whatever. And so if that environment, people just like, we're fucking sick of this, we're burning it down, and they came to where I lived, I would, I have a Black Lives Matter sign on outside my window. I would be like, do you guys want some food and water? Because I saw there was a in downtown Santa Monica, when it all went off, there was a Thai restaurant that had Black Lives Matter, George Floyd or something to that effect, and nobody touched it. And the surf shop right next to it didn't have that, and they smashed it up. And not that surf shop deserved it.
Yeah, Well, these are blunt instruments. These are
right.
furious people after watching videos of, let's say a black man being executed by a white cop. So this is a very blunt instrument, protest and large scale, angry, furious taking to the streets. But that's the point you get pushed to when nothing else has worked and when your government is completely unaccountable. So yes, they're going to break the window of the surf shop and not break the window of the one that has the sign that says, George Floyd was murdered. But
yeah, that's the thing too. And this was like some of the arguments I've had. I got into 3 arguments. One with a guy came to blows in the street.
Really? How do you find these arguments?
Well, that one I went back out on the streets and I had my phone with me and I saw a news crew reporting, and I'd been watching the news all day, watching how they were reporting the looting very specifically. They kept showing the same footage over and over of like a half a dozen black people running out of a shoe store. They kept showing that footage over and over and over again. It's very specific, right?
We haven't found any other examples of this, but we'll show this
footage. Just this one over and over and over. They kept running it on a loop. And every time they would talk about it, they would talk about the looting, but they wouldn't talk about police brutality. And they would talk about the looting like it was the worst thing that ever happened. It's like, no, the looting is unfortunate.
They got 4 pairs of shoes, man.
Like, oh no, someone who was poor got some shoes that from a store that has insurance. Like, I mean, and I was like, I'm not happy that my city was like on fire. But the way the phrase the conversation was like, it's unfortunate about the looting and the businesses. And I'm not happy a small business lost its money, but what happened to George Floyd is worse. what happened to Jacob Blake is worse. What happened to Breonna Taylor is 1,000 times worse. That should make you outraged. And the media wasn't talking about that. So I was on the street and I just had my phone out and I was just like talking and I was like, hey, everybody, there's the store. And if you look over here, there's a news crew and they're not, all they do is talk about the looting like it's the worst thing. And I said, I'm not happy this happened. This breaks my heart. And I don't want to see this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm a small business owner, but they're not talking about the bigger issues. And this guy heard me, this older dude, Irish guy, literally Irish accent. And he like got in my face. And he's like, you think this is a good, and like, he thought I was like saying, yay, the looting's great. I was like, I'm not happy. This is awful. But he was just so nuts.
Did you try this? Try saying, you're a fucking immigrant, aren't you?
Yeah, I should have said that. Get out of our country, immigrant.
Get out of the country.
I was like, you're Irish. Like if this was Belfast and that was the Queen's, the British government's, what are you talking about? Like the Irish weren't allowed in movie theaters in England and shit. What are you talking about? Like he kept getting in my face and it was crazy. And then there was another person that was my friend. We had an argument and she just was like, ah, all crazy. And I was like, I'm not happy this happened, but I understand.
Right. Well, people don't want to see any nuances. Another thing, they want either you support looting or you are fine with endless white supremacy policing and execution of black people. Like those are the only 2 sides. And it's like, no, you can not love looting and also support Black Lives Matter, support people standing up, support a significant change to our policing system.
Yeah. And when she said to me, I don't even know what they're protesting, I was like, what?
Yeah, you do.
What's the demands? I go, where have you been? Like, stop shooting us, cut the police budget in half, actually prosecute these cops. Don't just give them paid leave and then the city uses taxpayer money to pay out a civil defense claim. You
know how many cops have been successfully convicted of murder over the past 15 years out of whatever 15,000 killings?
No, how many?
3
out of 15,000. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know whether protesting. I can't figure it out. I can't put my finger on it. So yeah. Anyway, that group just doesn't want to wake up to it, and then it's such a threat to them, and all they care about is stuff. They've been told that guard our stuff, and that's an American thing of like lock it up, protect it, you know. And I remember I think it was Bowling for Columbine when Michael Moore did that documentary, and he went to Canada, and Canadians just like, I leave my door open. They're like, what about stealing stuff? They're like, well, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah. Here's the thing: it's not like Canadians are. It's not like they want their stuff stolen, but there's a like stealing stuff is already a crime. So if stuff gets stolen, often the people will get caught. If they don't get caught, then you lost a couple of things. Like, unless you have every dollar of your life in a like gold bars sitting in the middle of your living room, and you're literally going to be like homeless the following day because this person stole everything and walked away with your house as well on the flatbed truck, you're gonna get through it. I know it sucks, but I mean, that's the thing is like Canadians probably would say that they think someone who steals should have a punishment, should have something done in the court system to them. But it's an American thing to be like, that motherfucker should be executed or he should spend 20 years in prison because he got my stereo.
Yeah.
Like, it's a stereo, really? 20 years? Yeah, you think?
Well, and I've heard people like, I got a gun and tries to steal anything. So you're going to kill somebody over a stereo. You're going to kill somebody over a $200 watch. Like, you're willing to take another human life because they tried to steal from you. Okay.
Well, that's something I'm trying to, a point I keep trying to push in several episodes and stuff is when people call the cops, it's like, you should know that you're inviting the possibility of death into the situation.
Yeah.
Just know that. And it could be yours because there's countless instances where cops show up and shoot the person that called them. So you have to I'm not saying never call the cops, but you have to know you're inviting that possibility into this situation. So if you hear loud music next door, just know that you call the cops, someone might die.
Yep.
And is that worth turning down the music?
Yeah, I know. It's just like, go knock on your neighbor's door and try to be cool. And if they're like, fuck you, okay, then go wear earplugs or something.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that you have an asshole next door neighbor, but getting someone killed is not generally the answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's just madness. All right. You want to go to another?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So this is, I came across this one. And government secrets segment number 2.
I was gonna say you're fired if you didn't, because I thought you were gonna skip that part, and I was like, this shit's over.
No, we can't. We spend so much money on these sound effects that we really have to use them. So, in just a cursory search of, I'm gonna share the screen on this one. This is in just a cursory search of the CIA and astral projection, there is some freedom of information of how the CIA did a strategy for the evaluation of paranormal phenomena.
A strategy or evaluation.
They created this was released in 1998. And
that was a peak year for paranormal activity.
Yeah, it's weird. It coincided with the Monica Lewinsky stuff. I don't know. I don't know what it had to do with. Maybe it had to do with that. Maybe it was a ghost that repealed Glass-Steagall rather than Bill Clinton.
It could have been. It could have been a fucking like 3-horned, Martian type being.
3-horned Martian. So this is from June of 1998. There seems to be a small but constant momentum within the agency. This is your tax dollars at work for the CIA for investigation of paranormal phenomena, including such things as ESP, astral projection, and radionautics, which I don't even know what that last one is. It sounds like something that Radio Shack might have, or like, get the new astral projection radionautic 2000. I don't know what it means. Since this momentum appears to have been continuous in the past, it seems reasonable to assume that it will continue in the future. Since claims of paranormal phenomena immediately generate opposing camps of believers and non-believers, any instigation of research into these areas immediately engenders debates, meetings, discussions, and memoranda, which they must be like, sweet, more spending money on bullshit, like just memorandas and this group and that group. Oh, I can't wait. For this reason, this paper is presented to propose some guidelines for a strategy to allow for the appraisal of the appropriate. I love government corporate speak. Guidelines for the strategy to allow for the appraisal of the appropriateness of resource dedication, that's money, to whatever paranormal phenomena may be proposed in the future. One of the driving forces for any proposed program in paranormal phenomena is always the carrot held out by proponents that the possession of such powers would have great utility in the intelligence community. Wasn't this an Indiana Jones plot? Like,
yeah, but it was the worst one. That was the worst one. So, yeah.
So the CIA is using our tax dollars to potentially, because if we can crack this ESP thing, we can control people's brains.
This was also the plot of, I think, one of the Stranger Things seasons. But
yes,
they weren't they working on this for years? Like, weren't there in the 70s and stuff? Weren't they trying to, like, what's the movie called, Men Who Kill Goats or whatever? Like, where they try and kill goats with their mind and shit like that?
Yeah, they've been trying to do this for forever. And seeing, like we talked about in the last segment, like the 1776 brigade or whatever that Trump created, and the people that don't want to listen to the truth on either side. The Trumpers that think he never lies, and the vote any blue will do people that, like, I'm with her, I'm a big feminist, that's why I support Hillary Clinton, which is like, oh, that's like a foodie really being in favor of Jeffrey Dahmer. So, like, the fact that these are people, we've talked about this both on the show and just personally, of it seems like there's groups of people that seem crazy, and I'm like, is it the opioid epidemic? I'm being serious here. Is that making people just acting like crazy addicts? Because active addicts are nuts, right? And they'll say one thing, they'll gaslight you. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear any of that. Is the contaminated water that's not just in Flint, that's in 1,000 cities, controlling, making people like not capable of critical thinking, because we have lost critical thinking in this country, right?
Yeah, I'd love to blame it on the water, but I think it's just
Or did the CIA crack the code on ESP or whatever, and they made everybody's brain nuts?
Yeah, they just found a way to dull everything. they were like, what do we do with it? We can actually influence other people's brains. Should we make everyone brilliant? We can, could travel to another dimension, and we'll just everything would be incredible. We'll all be so smart. No, let's just make everybody really into Slurpees. It's just
Slurpees and guns, and
yeah,
and partisan politics. Let's make them really into that. Let's get them to just pick a side, red or blue, and that's the one.
I mean, here's the thing. I would rather CIA spend a lot more of their time focused on ESP, so that they're spending less time like killing people. So whatever time they spend on like idiot shit, just I hope that's good. That's good.
You guys should see you guys should divert some of that money, staging coups and with democratically elected leaders, and more money to see if people can make soup think. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys should. Have you ever talked about making dogs talk and sing? Like, put some money in that. Like, I see your point. I think you have good reasoning, Lee. Because the evil shit they do is scary, and this is a little like, rather than doing the Finders cult, which is horrific. And getting people like, well, you're going to get mad if I mention the name, but getting Epstein on your payroll
I don't get mad. I've accepted your obsession, and
I can tell.
I think we went a whole episode without mentioning him. So
we did. I was very good for a whole episode. I took special pills so I wouldn't mention him, because I can tie anything back to that guy. Hey, weird. You notice how shoelaces aren't always? Yep, that's what Epstein did. Through St. Croix. Oh wow, Graham. Okay.
It all comes back to Epstein every time.
But I want to read this. If we assume that such powers are indeed real and can be harnessed for use by the agency, clearly there can be no argument with purported utility. Therefore, debate on such an issue is inappropriate. So they don't even want to debate it. The true focus for the debate should be on the validity of claims made by proponents of the paranormal phenomena. Another item.
And here's the thing: is like if they were to actually discover something that were useful, because I'll suspend enough disbelief to think that that's something we could discover something that you could. I mean, we understand quantum entanglement, where quantum particles are connected at thousands of miles apart, and despite the fact that we don't know what connects them, they are somehow communicating instantaneously with each other. You change the spin of one and the spin of the other changes. So it means there could be something that connects, let's say, two people or a person with thoughts of the dead or something that we don't understand. So I'll suspend disbelief with that. But if they were to discover something, it's like, wouldn't the right thing for humanity be like, hey, here's what we found, everybody. Let's discuss how to use it to make for a better world. But something tells me that's not where they'd go.
Well, I don't know. How come? Why is your think the CIA would do something badly? We've in these 9 previous episodes, have we ever mentioned how they've done something awful on this show?
I always wait. Is the CIA not the same as Chia? Because I always thought we were talking about Chia this whole time, and I was like, they make those awesome pets. I
put it on my cereal.
Yeah, it's it's the alfalfa sprouts, right? Those guys are great. Those guys are great.
I put CIA seeds on my cereal. They're fantastic. But yeah, well, no, I this is an interesting discussion because I believe there has to be some type of where our brains are capable of some type of psychic ability, and like you say, and not in a. This is where the new age people are. It's always like, oh, it is the messenger. It is the messenger. Because sometimes they'll just be like, well, you're guided by your rainbow chakra through unicorn forests. And that's well, I think it's more science-based, like you say, because you have the energy, we're all energy. Every living thing is energy. And we could, because I've had some experiences where I'm like, I saw something happen, or I saw it in a dream, or connected with somebody differently than I did other way. Like I've predicted some things in my, I'm not like, I have psychic abilities, I'm not that, but I believe that there's an ability. I believe there's a higher energy level that we could tap into in some way that we could learn this. But of course,
I know that every week I go like this and I try and send you the message that it's time to start the show, and it's never worked. It's never done much.
It doesn't work when I'm surfing. I keep telling you, the waves block it. Like when they're.
Hold on. You didn't have your crystal helmet on?
No. It gets up when you surf. My crystal helmet.
Jesus.
I know. But I do have their latest download. So yeah, like you say, of course the CIA is going to use this for some awful shit. They could use this to be like, if there was like noble intention to research this, and they're like, oh, we're going to see if we can find a higher level of consciousness or communication that could maybe, if we could communicate on a higher level, maybe we wouldn't have disagreements. We wouldn't have war. Wouldn't be a need for crime. No, not the CIA. We're going to find out a way to tap into somebody's brain, and then they can use it to scramble the other person's brain, and then we can steal their oil or whatever their crazy nonsense is. Yeah. So that's my critique.
Yeah, good one. So I have some breaking news that I realize many people will listen to this on Monday, so it will not be breaking to them. But for the live streamers, breaking news: Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died. So shit is gonna get real.
Oh my God.
This is gonna obviously result in Trump saying we have to pass a new Supreme Court justice. It's gonna be Ted Cruz or the Dark Sith Lord or some shit. And he's going to say, we have to do it right now.
Yeah, this feels, I'm not going to get too conspiratorial here, but I'll just say that it's unfortunate she's passed away.
I wouldn't. Here's the thing, Graham. If you were to get conspiratorial, I would have to point out that she wasn't exactly a spring chicken.
No, I know. She's in her 80s, I believe. So of course, anybody, we all could get it. We all could die at any moment, especially when you're in your 80s. You're on the clock's ticking. So, but you've talked about it on your show. I've talked about it on my show. We've talked about it on this show. Whatever happens in November, people don't understand. It doesn't matter. It's going to be nuts no matter what. And I don't think there's going to be a decision made. It's going to be like the year 2000 where they're just like, it's up in the air. And this just adds fuel to the chaos fire that will be the election. I mean,
yeah.
It's because now whoever wins is the other side is going to claim, nope, you cheated. And now
you'll recall that who was it, Scalia, that died before Obama left, and it was months. They stopped him from picking a replacement for months. So the precedent is there for stopping someone for months. But
yeah, it is really. And they're gonna fight and delay this, and it's gonna get involved. It's the election now. It's gonna be like, and again, Democrats, this is what you get for snubbing Bernie and putting Joe Biden in there. This is what you get, and the vote any blue will do people are gonna use this as you got to vote for Biden.
Yeah.
Any of us that are like, I don't want to vote for Biden, they're gonna say you have to now because of her. Because of this vacant seat. This is like, if I were to want to concoct a civil war in America,
this would be how you do it.
It'd be one of my chess moves, to just be quite honest with you, is like, I would take the George Floyd protests, which were all different ethnicities, all different walks of life, coming together saying this ain't right. I would turn that into a race war.
Right.
And then to distract people from the fact that they're actually in class warfare, thanks to decades of toxic capitalism and the $4.25 trillion that was given to Wall Street in the CARES Act and all those things. I would distract people from that. And then this is another great tactic, just a hung election. It's what it's going to be. It's not going to be decided for months. It's not. And this just fuels that.
Well, the only way it's decided quickly is if it is some sort of landslide. But
right,
I think that would be pretty tough, considering our fucking sham of an election system. And actually, one of the things I was going to talk about, I don't know if now's a good time, was I was going to go through kind of how ridiculous our computer voting system is. I wasn't going to go through everything that's wrong with our elections, because that would take weeks. But I was gonna talk about and maybe it does fit now, because it's like one of the reasons they can even claim that because if Trump loses, he'll claim that it was false or whatever, and
sure.
And one of the reasons that our system is set up for that kind of claim is because we're the only country in the world that uses, I think, close to 100% either computer voting or computer counting of the ballots. And, these computers are almost never, like, there's no real accountability to the people. There are some audits, and some states specifically have we have the audit of the machines a week after the election, and you can come and you can see how they're working. But the thing is, they do everything they can to make sure you are not able to actually see the audit of the machines. Most of them do. And we saw this again and again. We saw it in California. We saw it in New York. They would have the audit that's supposedly open to the public, and they would keep any public observers as far back as possible. And in Chicago, people testified to the fact that they saw people erasing the numbers that the machine was saying because they weren't adding up, because these computer machines are a fucking fraud. I mean, in various ways. And this doesn't mean that one party or one like the Clinton machine owns the voting machines. It means that in different areas, there can be different things. There can be different scams going on. There's different, in some areas, Republicans absolutely are in charge of these things. And, some people have found the code to certain types of machines and found that in the code, there is fractional voting. Like a vote does not count as a 1 or a 0. A vote will count as like 1.0. And they're like, why the fuck does a fractional vote even exist? Because you could put a program in there that says every Bernie vote counts for 0.9 and every Hillary counts for 1.1. And that adds up quickly. So, that's yet another incredible problem with this voting system. And it's why we have one of the least legitimate voting systems in the electoral systems in the world.
Well, clearly you hate America. So let's no, it's just preposterous. Our election system is preposterous. And that's why I like watching people on the left lose their shit over Russia for the last 4 years when they should just be looking at our own corruption, which is 1,000 times worse than Russia's $4,700 in Google ads showing a Hillary dildo or whatever the hell they showed. Like we've both talked about this on our respective shows of the electronic voting was proven back in 2006 to be hackable. Like every year at the hack fest or whatever, some kid hacks the thing in 9 minutes. And it's like,
oh yeah, that was incredible. But all of these, a key point, which is what you're kind of making, all of these hacks, incredibly quick, easy hacks, have been done in person, connected to the machine, like either plugging in a USB. There's certain kind of cards you can get that'll plug into the card reader. Not once have they said, oh, look how easy it is to hack over the internet. So these are not the great other. These are not scary Russia or China. These are in-person hacks.
In-person hacks. And that's the other thing. They act like, oh, how could we ever do online? Like, what are you talking about? We file our taxes online. All this encrypted, secure data.
Banks, blockchain, right? Blockchain voting.
Yeah. And blockchain voting. Exactly. We use the blockchain. I stream my show on Rockfin, which is a blockchain crypto platform. Like cryptocurrency is it's why can't we do that? Why can't we figure that out? Oh, because then it would give everybody access and your vote would actually count rather than this flim flam like Chicago dead people voting thing that we have in this country. It's just preposterous. And both parties cheat equally. Like this notion that one party cheats more than the other. It's like, well, no, the Republicans have their specific kind of cheating. They typically like to gerrymander neighborhoods of color so that they get screwed. And then the Democrats, they love suppressing progressives. So anytime, people.
Well, and a lot of the gerrymandering, the Democrats will sign off on or vote for because the Republicans will gerrymander it so that those Democrats are safe in their districts. So then you have, let's say, 3 Democrats and 15 Republicans, and they all sign off on this gerrymandering shit because the 3 Democrats are like, good for me.
Yep. I'll just always win because I know I rope off this blue district. I know that it only comes down to the primary, and this is by design. So 22% typically to 25% show up and vote in primaries. So that's why they go, whoever gets the Democrat, whoever wins in the primary gets the vote, because then if you're a very blue state or blue district, then the Republicans will just throw up a paper tiger against you in the general. Same thing in a red district. If you win the Democrats will just throw up a nobody. So that's why, like California, well, it's not a perfect system. It's in one sense better, has a open primaries. It does a top 2 thing. And back in 2018, it allowed, and this is just one little example, Kenneth Mejia, a Green, to make it to the general, and a Green ran against a Democrat. And it was like, wow, this is how it could be. And it's another thing. We need blockchain voting. We need, what's that other thing I'm blanking on? I'm just blanking on it. It's like,
is it where they paint your finger when you vote?
Yeah, finger paint voting, ranked choice. That's the name I'm thinking.
Ranked choice.
On ranked choice. Yeah. But yeah, and they act like this is impossible, and they could do it. I mean, if everything was so hackable on the internet, banks would not be doing trillions of dollars of online transactions every day. And like,
yeah, exactly. But the banks want every person to count, meaning they want to count everyone's money. So therefore, they're fine with that. But voting, they want to make as difficult as possible. So they want you to have to show up to a place on a day, on a work day, when most average people are at work.
right.
That's they want to keep it that way.
And keep it a 12-hour window, where like other Western countries will have like 2-3 days. It'll be like all weekend, like several days of in-person voting. Like if you're so concerned about mail-in ballots and all that, great. Then make it make Tuesday election day a national holiday. It's shut down like the 4th of July. Everything's shut down. Have polling places on every block, and get everybody, that's your civic duty, to come out and vote. You know, like, or vote.
In Australia, they fine people for not voting.
Yes, it's compulsory.
Yeah, I don't think it's that much. I think it's like $75 or something, but that's enough to get like whatever it is, 80-90% of vote.
Yeah, you don't want to pay $75? Then just vote for somebody. Get out there and vote for somebody. And then, you know, we vote or shame the 100 million people that don't vote, and yet don't want to do compulsory elections, don't want to do any of these things to incentivize people to come vote. It's insane. So the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, oh man, it's
gonna, I know it's just gonna be fucking, the level of garbage is just gonna be amped up by 10 right now.
It's gonna be insane. Leading up to this election is just gonna get worse every day. Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal.
Why there's early voting already happening now in some states, and I'm like, yeah, just fucking go put your vote in, so you don't have to think about it anymore. Like,
I always vote by
get
mail.
it over with. And by the way, you and I are trashing our voting system, which is a fucking dumpster fire. However, I have said and continue to say all the time, I'm not saying don't vote. I'm actually saying you have to vote in such numbers that you defeat what they're trying to rig. So, and on a lot of down ballot things, on things that are more local, you can have a massive impact with just a few people. So, yeah, I actually think voting is very important, but it doesn't mean it's not a garbage heap.
No, both things can exist. It's a completely corrupt system, but it is, if we were to overwhelm them, there's nothing they could do about it. And again, the down ballot stuff, they can't rig every single little thing. And there's some ballot measure on your city ballot or your county or your state ballot that literally will be decided by a couple hundred votes. And so that's the kind of thing where if you can, that's why I always vote. And I signed up for vote by mail years ago just because I was always traveling and I never knew if I would be there on election day or whatever. And you can, in California, you can fill out if I am there on election day, I fill out my vote by mail thing. And then I walk into the polling place. You can walk right to the front of the line, and I give it to the person.
Take a dump right there.
And I just go, yeah, who let the dogs out? Weird song. And then I watch them put it in the box. I always watch them, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And then they give me that sticker. So, all right, buddy. I think that's probably our episode, right? We had 3 solid Gov't segs.
I think that's it, man. Hang in there as the chaos rains down.
Ooh, stay safe, folks. Hunker down, because it's going to be. I was saying this during the protests in late May and June. I'm like, these are bad, but I go, these are going to be a Disney parade compared to what's going to happen coming up to the election. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But and then you start throwing in the evictions, and
yeah.
So stay safe, everybody.
Letting go of an empire is never fun. Never fun. Never a good time.
When 4 states on the West Coast are under fire, like I guess Oregon got some huge rainstorms, which was good for putting out some of the fires, but now they got floods, and it's just so. Yeah. But all right, Lee.
As I always say, keep fighting.
Keep fighting, man. Don't give up. My thing is I'm going to do everything I can, and when I die, I'll be able to look whatever, if there's a God or whatever, and go, hey, man, I tried.
It's just going to be the CIA ESP guys. They're like, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
We've been tracking your brain for quite some time.
Thanks for your help. You didn't know you were helping us, but thanks for your help.
You could have just kept surfing. You didn't have to always cut it short. You could have just kept surfing. That's kind of what we wanted you to do.
Yeah, all my stuff is at leecamp.com. I put out videos on various news topics almost every day. So just go to leecamp.com, check it often. The show's called Redacted. The TV show's called Redacted Tonight. And my other podcast is called Common Censored.
Folks, and listen to this. If you're watching it, please make sure you listen on like iTunes or SoundCloud or something like that. And if you are listening, please give it a positive review, and that all those like analytics help. And download it and share this with your friends and stuff on your social media, because it's a new show. This is only our 10th episode, so we're trying to get the word out. And then, of course, everything I've got is at grahamelwood.com. I do my I usually go live 4 or 5 days a week on YouTube, youtube.com/grahamelwood, and rockfin.com/grahamelwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. I have a Patreon page. You can get all of that at grahamelwood.com. Government Secrets, end of episode 10. I don't know what happened at the end. I got a new sound graphic card.
I liked it. We needed to end on a high note, so that was good. We needed something upbeat.
All right, buddy. Well, nice to see you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, dude.